Hi, this is Michael Wilson, Father Benedict Wilson. Today, I'm going to I'm going to do chapter 9. And let's see. Yeah, it's a pretty long chapter. We're going to just do chapter 9 this morning of the Book of Activity. And let's get going. Number 1, it says, is seek not to become great intellects, for intellect is of the material mind, and the thoughts of other persons which do not concern you personally, unless they be pure truth. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Is that perfectly clear already? Do I need to say more about that? Well, maybe I should go on a little bit here before doing that. Number 2, seek to have the outer appearance of the intellect with the inner wisdom of the mystic and the reality of the attainment of the great self. Okay. Now, there you go. That pretty well rounds out what this first section is about. So in number 2, it says, you seek, that's what you want to seek. Okay. So the appearance of the intellect. Well, okay. So that means that it doesn't mean that we don't study and so forth, because we will find areas of interest in the world, things that we're interested in and we want to learn more about. And no matter what it is that you find that you're interested in, that area of interest can be, well, first of all, the most important thing that it will be, if we're following the second directive, is it will be a vehicle for the teaching of and for finding and teaching the reality of who you are, the great self. So here that's capitalized, great self. One of the things that means is that the self that it's talking about is not you personally, as you think of yourself personally. It's you impersonally. There's only one great self. So it's not about, quote, you at all. Today's Course in Miracles lesson is, oh my, I just got through reading it, but I'm gonna look it up, because here I am doing the Book of Activity now. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. And the whole lesson, 35, is all about realizing that you're not your image. And in this world, that's how you see yourself. You see yourself as an image. And so this is talking about having that you have the appearance, in other words, the image, being an intellectual, you might say. But the realization, the inner wisdom of the mystic, the realization that you're not your image. That's not who you are. And so our real purpose, no matter what we're studying, is to realize the self, the great self. And that's what we really are, all of us. So that's our real mission here on earth, is to realize the great self. Number 3, he that would attain the regeneration, let him listen to my words and follow my commands, and you will live in the light, and the light will make him alive. Well, this is literally true. We're not talking about something called, quote, the light of understanding. But the light will certainly give you understanding. We're really talking about light. Um, yes, we do want to seek the light. So in your meditation, when you close your eyes and go within, or whether even if you don't close your eyes, you're seeking the light. And so you're opening yourself, this image that you've made of yourself, you're opening that. And sort of like imagine that you make the self really firm in your mind. You really know who you are in this world, right? And so imagine all those molecules get really tight, like that image becomes really solid like a statue. And when you're seeking the light, when you're meditating, you're wanting to expand that so that the space between all those molecules, you might say, gets opened wider and wider so the light can come in. And then you visualize your whole image full of light. You invite it in. You expand. So this is the fundamental exercise of the Holy Order of Mans, the illumination. And we imagine that there's a sphere of light around our whole body to a distance of about 3 feet from the skin. And so it becomes an oval of light, energy vibrating very rapidly. Because all that light is excited by all the attention, all the consciousness that propels it, not just from us in our openness, but from its source, which you can think of as the sun, the center of the solar system, because in reality, that's the great self. And it says above, so below. So your body, including your spiritual body, which is this wonderful light-filled form, is like a small solar system. It's a reflection of the solar system that includes this planet Earth. And that is, so all the planets that are revolving around the sun in the solar system are reflected in the spiritual centers in the body. We don't have to focus on any of that in this practice. We just fill our form with light. And we get it so full that, of course, it starts to ooze out. Or you might say the boundaries around this form just kind of disappear. And we start to expand that form that we call ourselves wider into farther and farther out until in our imagination, it completely merges with the entire planet. And that's part of our gift to the planet through our meditation, so that we imagine that the entire planet is full of light. And certainly it begins with this, this form that we think of as us, but it goes out and it starts to include our whole house and everything in it, everyone in it. Then it includes the neighborhood, and then it includes the city, and then it includes the state, and it includes the bioregion, and it's not just above, like above the earth. It's as big underground like a tree's roots. It's as big underground as it is above and around us. And so eventually it includes the entire planet. And the sun, the source of that light, is right in the center of our bodies, you know. And where would that be? Well, there is a part of the body that is called the solar plexus. That's at the center of the body, and that is where uh, this you can think of the self resides there. Now, you know, I mean, as a central sun, it's huge um, neuronal plexus. And so, where does electricity in the body come from? You think it's generated by photosynthesis or something? You're not a plant. No, that's the spiritual self, the reality of who you are. So that's why you live in the light, and the light will make you alive. Number 4, for he whom seeks power for power's sake shall destroy himself with the power he obtains. Right? Why is that? Well, because you're so focused on this little image of yourself, you know, this image, which is very little compared to who you really are. And the more that you focus on that, at the same time you're trying to bring this power in, you're just going to create, you're going to, you know, like it creates so much pressure that you're going to explode. Simple as that. For a fool can serve my Father better than he whom has lost his humility and is seeking his own way through power or through knowledge. For wisdom only leads to humility, but power leads to self-destruction. So we look at it just on a very practical level, you know, like we, what you might call on the level of form, your image and who you really are. You see, so the more you think you're this image, if you try to attract power, you're going to destroy yourself. Simple. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you, as I have said when I was with you in my first approach to the new age. The kingdom of heaven, that means that it's not of you, it's of the Creator, the one that created you. And as it says in A Course in Miracles, God creates by extension, right? So God extended himself. That's the only thing that God can do. If he starts creating littleness, like our self-images, then he's going to be little himself. He's creating littleness, he's going to be little. And that's not God's nature. So God extends himself, which means that you have all the attributes of your creator. You're like your creator in every way except one. You did not create yourself. So the self that you've made here is an image of littleness. But in reality, you're the great self. So seek ye first the knowledge of the great self. And all these things shall be added unto you. Okay, yeah, but they're added unto you in such a way that you just get to enjoy them. You know they don't belong to you. They belong to everyone, everything. They're not your property. That whole concept is really kind of funny. And when you realize that we're all one. So this is called self-forgetting service. In the order, that's what we talked about, self-forgetting service. We're certainly not forgetting the great self. We're forgetting the image we've made. because it's an image of littleness. It's an image of limitation. I don't care how big your ego can get, it's still small, in comparison to who you really are. So you get that, you just let go of thinking about yourself. You get out there and you see what needs to be done and you do it. And you, the real you, has unlimited power. You will make, quote, your mark by forgetting yourself and just being of service. For this is what I have called you, number 7, together for, that you may know that the power and the wisdom are the opposite poles and the prerequisite of a man of God through my world and through my lordship. Power and wisdom. Yeah, okay, so this is like the opposite poles are assuming all the power that is available to you to flow through you, and the wisdom to get yourself, quote on your image of yourself, out of the way. That's what creates the flow, the connection to self and your manifestation on earth, a free, open, flowing channel. For he whom, number 8, he whom would build a kingdom of his own, seriously, he is trying to shut the door on my Father. And he whom shuts the door on my Father shuts the door on me, and I know him not. Well, that's true because this little image of yourself that you've created here is it's make believe. You the Course in Miracles teaches that you never have left your Father. You've never left heaven. You've never left the kingdom. As far as God's concerned, you've never left. That's where you are. That's who you are. God created you as an extension of himself. And he doesn't know anything but that. He doesn't know about this image of yourself that you've made. You're this sort of veil that we've put upon the world as it true and really is shining with the light of Christ. He doesn't know that because he only sees what's true. He only sees what is one, not what's divided and separated, because that's not his will. For he who would reach the Father reaches it through my veil. And my veil is a bitter veil for he whom does it for himself. Yeah, and that's why in the order we emphasize selfless service. That's the only way, because what the other way of living is you make this image of yourself, and it could be a great image, or it could be a crappy one. It doesn't matter. It's just an image. But you make this image, and then you create an environment around you that reflects this image. And so then your whole purpose is protecting the image, protecting the environment, which is part of the image. All of it's one kind of made up reality. And your job is to protect it because why? That you just made it up. It's not real. I mean, in reality, this, and that's why it needs protection because it's a temporary thing. It's a temporary condition that we made up. That's the veil. The one we're doing for, quote, ourselves. And that's why we have to reach it through the veil. We have to go through the veil. And the funny thing is that the Course in Miracles describes it as like there's this tremendous light. And um, and our goal is to reach the light, but it's surrounded by dark clouds. It describes the veil as like dark clouds. And so the process of illumination is one in which you are focusing on the light, putting all this emphasis on the light, right? That's one side. Okay, you could say that's seeking the power. But um, in the world, you're forgetting yourself and you're going out and being of service any way you can. How do you know what God's will is for you? Well, you look around, you see something needs to be done. That's His will for you. You do that. All right. Whatever you see that needs to be done, that's God's will for you. So you don't have to worry about that. Just get to work and do it. Forget yourself and take care of what needs to be done. It could be you need to sweep the floor and do the dishes, right? So get to work. It really doesn't matter. There's no level of difficulty, level of one thing is better than another. It's all the same. It's all the one world, and we're all the one self, and we're taking care of business. That's how you get through the veil. And what's on the other side? Reality is on the other side. Number 10, seek ye first the light of the Christos. Well, for in it is eternal life. To he whom becomes nothing, he shall attain all things under my guidance and in my word, for it shall lead him to the Father. For this is my first work. Number one, the most important thing. So no matter what you find yourself doing, whatever image that you've been led to make in this world, which is, it becomes, whatever it is, it becomes a vehicle for your journey to oneness with God. That is why we're here. So no matter what it may look like on the outside, um, everything is offered on the altar within your heart to the Creator. Seek ye to know thy brother, the one next to thee, and thou shalt know all men and thyself. This is just amazing. That's why I love A Course in Miracles so much too, because that's what it says in the Course. Um, that's how you get to know yourself, is by seeing yourself in your brother. And if you can accomplish that with just one person and really see the self in them, then you will see your own self. And they will see their self in you, the same one self. And you have accomplished it for everybody. In other words, you will know that the same one self is the reality of who we all are. That this division into millions and billions of separate bodies on this planet is just an illusion. We really are one. There's only one self. And it doesn't matter what form they're manifesting here on planet Earth in 2021. It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with who we really are. Of course, we want to have that one self radiate through this image that we've made and have that be what really is coming through. So we'll still have an image, but we don't hold on to that. We know who we are. That image has created certain pathways. We're not going to all walk down the same road. Um, but what they said about Rome is going to, be universally true. All roads lead to Rome. All, all roads, all paths lead to God, because that's where everything begins and ends. Now, so seek ye to know thy brother, the one next to thee, and thou shalt know all man and thyself. So you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. Just get to know your brother, the one next to you, and you know all people and yourself. 12. For he that would not give up his life, shall now receive eternal life, but becomes a pawn to the forces of darkness, where my light existeth not, and bringeth not eternal life. Okay, in reality, uh, it appears like you're, quote, receiving eternal life, but the fact is that that's the only life there is, and that is the life that is flowing through you now. It is eternal. And since you are created in the image of God, quote unquote, um, that's what you are. You are eternal life. So it's not that it can't be taken from you, um, but it can certainly be taken from your awareness. And actually, it's not really taken from your awareness, although in a certain way it is, because you come here and you're taught that it has been taken away. But in reality, it can't be taken away. So it's so in quote, giving up your life. So what is your life? Um, that's the image that I've been talking about. Your life. Since that image is not real, you could say it really doesn't exist, and there is no such a thing as your life. But life, life is universal. Life is eternal. That's who you. That's what you are. But as long as you're holding on to, quote, your life and making that your God, uh, you won't know about eternal life. You won't know who you really are or what you really are. Yeah, and then, of course, if you're defending that image, then you certainly are upon the forces of darkness, that veil around the golden sun within you. You are upon to that because you can't see beyond it. And yes, right, in that darkness, um, the light doesn't exist. You can't see it. And you won't experience who you really are, eternal life. Where the light, number 13, where the light of the Christos exists not, there neither do I partake, nor do I give. Well, it's really simple. It's not like Jesus is standing in judgment, right? And um, um, refusing to love you or something like that. But if you don't invite him in, um, if you put all your conscious attention into this image of yourself that you've made, this veil in front over the self, um, whatever you withhold from him, he's not gonna see. If you withhold yourself, your image, if you take all of your the power you've been given and you use it to like solidify the darkness, no, he is not going to know anything about that. He's not going to experience you. The you certainly is not going to experience the you think you are. and you're not going to experience him, which is so sad, such a tragedy. That you just have to find a way home so that your life can be full of joy and peace and happiness. You don't have to take this world so seriously. But we are here to serve. Why else would we come here? "14. For let the light, as words from the ancient sages, light thy path, that the living light thou shalt receive from the firstborn Son of the Father, under the order in which thou partakest. For let the light, as words from the ancient sages, light thy path, that the living light thou shalt receive from the firstborn Son of the Father, the Christ, under the order in which thou partakest." So it's not exactly a complete sentence, unless you read it saying, okay, right. So here's the things that we're doing. We're meditating on the light and we're reading. That's another practice that's very important, is to read the words of the ancient sages. And so now we're sort of speaking metaphorically there, calling that light. Now we are talking about understanding. We are talking about wisdom. But it's such an important practice to read these inspiring words. And in doing so, the living light, which comes from through the Christ, which we are a part of, will light our way. So what happens is, of course, those things that we read about from the ancient sages, those things become real in our own experience. They take on life. We see them in operation. So it isn't just sitting there reading. It's applying them, it's looking for them, finding the truth in your daily life experience. 15, for he whom stands in my shadow must live in accordance with my words and teachings, which are the teachings of our Father and the holy ones of old. Yeah, must live in accordance with my words and teachings. Yeah, so we don't just read them, feel good for a moment, we apply them. We really seek to understand them by putting them to work in our own lives. Number 16, for wherever the sun and the moon rises, there am I also on this earth. Yeah, right. On this earth, that's how it looks, right? Sun's rising, moon's rising. There am I also on this earth. We're in the Holy Romance. Our way of understanding this was to say that Jesus was the Lord of earth. Um, and also it said that Buddha is the Lord of the East. So you get the idea. And what does that mean, lordship? Well, in a way, and what we taught in the order Let's take, for example, the energy of the sun in the center of the solar system, and how hot it is, and how intense that energy is, right? So um, that's why there appears to be a distance between us and the sun. Otherwise, we just fry, right? We wouldn't be able to live. So it's thought of in a sense of a transformer that steps the energy down as it gradually reaches the level where we're at, where we're functioning. So part of that transformation, as the light, as the light from the sun reaches us, is through the consciousness, which includes like spiritual body of Jesus, who's taken on this task of bringing the earth and its people into illumination. So that's what he's dedicated, quote, himself to, is to bring us into the light. And so you can think of it as sort of like a, um, what does he say? Well, that was there am I also on this earth, right? So you could think of it as his spiritual body surrounding the planet, his his mind, his consciousness as a guide, a spiritual guide. Makes it very easy to contact him and to get guidance on, throughout your daily life. What should I do now? Open up. Don't put limits on what it is. He'll show it to you. It's a wonderful way to um, go through life, and it reflects the reality. Number 17, entertain all men as though you were entertaining me. For there are times when you know not whether you're entertaining men or angels. This is reassuring on so many levels. For example, the idea of angels. Now, not all of us see them or even feel them in any way, and yet they're there. And probably we can all at times see the effects of their presence. But entertain all men as though you were entertaining me. Wow, that's exactly what he was saying about seek to know thy brother and the one next to thee in number 11. And thou shalt know all men and thyself. For Jesus is our older brother. And he says all these things in the New Testament I've done, you too can do an even greater. He's not putting any limits on us. And as long as we follow him, we won't be putting any limits on ourselves either. So think of whoever your spiritual guide, your teacher. We all have them. Whoever you can relate to, this lesson is for you. Entertain everyone as if they were that, that being. For he that is guided shall be well disciplined, and he that is well disciplined shall be well guided by the Spirit. So, what does it mean to be well disciplined? You know, some of us, well, let's say the ego has a negative, might have a negative view of discipline. Um, but what discipline is talking about, what it's talking about here, is simply all these things that I've been saying from the viewpoint of the image. Um, you know, uh, selfless service uh, doesn't sound very appealing. Forgetting yourself, uh, just throwing yourself into being of service and knowing that the Spirit is moving through you, that the Spirit is doing the work, Where's the self-gratification in that? That is why it's called being disciplined. Um, but what's the fruit of that? Being guided by the Spirit. 19. For the ways of men are fruitless if they are not guided by the Spirit, or ye hear not the sound of my voice. Again, so we talked about that in terms of where it said that where the light of the Christos exists not, neither do I partake, nor do I give. Well, so if we haven't opened up that channel to the Spirit, then the life, the real life, which is power, force, energy, and life, that's not going to be moving through us because we've closed the door. We said, I'm it. It's all about me. So naturally, your actions are, as the King James version says, they return empty to you. It's the same thing. Return into the void, the fruitless. 20. For the path of humility is victory, and the path of power without humility is defeat, and loneliness without the heavenly guidance. So here is the reality of humility. It's not walking around with downcast eyes and trying to not be noticed by anybody. It's getting yourself, the image of yourself, out of the way so that God can work through you. Number 21. Unto him who sows without thought of harvest shall come a bountiful harvest in my light and in my world. Well, I talked about this just the other day when I was talking about, using that analogy of the bow and arrow. That's in order to hit the target, you can't forget that you had to put all of your attention on the target, the goal, which means in this case, in this analogy, you're not putting your thought on the harvest. You're putting your thought on the light. That's your real goal. It's self-realization. That's the only reason you're here. Self-mastery. So that's everything you do is about that. It doesn't matter what it is. Your goal is to forget about the results of your actions and put your attention on the source of your life, that which is powering your action. Make sure that channel's open, and your harvest will be bountiful. Number 22, and the last one. For he whom sows with only the view of the harvest shall reap and shall harvest tares, and they shall prick his flesh, and he shall not live in comfort and peace. So what is it to live in comfort and peace? It's to know who and what you really are. Then no matter what happens on this plane of existence, you will live in comfort and peace. because you know who you are. Your questions about your identity, your reason for being here, um, your connection to the whole, those questions have been answered. To know that in reality, you've never left heaven and that's your true home will help you to weather all the storms that you will face here. And if you're not facing any storms, you're probably not really being very present in your life. If you're not being pushed beyond your comfort level, then somehow you're just not really being present because that's the nature of this place. And it's asking us to give ourselves completely right here, right now, where we are. It's not a place to be bypassed. You can't bypass where you are and reach your goal. You have to move through whatever is presented to you. You have to take it in and transform it. You have to part the veil to find the self. And that's just the way it is. It's the reality wherever you find yourself on this spiritual path. You're always going to be challenged to go beyond your comfort level, to, to, to find more, because your identity as spirit is completely unlimited. There's no end to who you are. Thanks for being here. And hope to see you again soon.